custom gun while coming in. He should be able to get to them, break the gun, smack them in the lips, and call it a day in like 2 seconds tops.
True.
Another example is when Mark tried grabbing Cecil, but Cecil was able to bust out this remote, press the button to activate the sound device, all before Mark could get to him.
Bullshit.
Makes
Mark
no
should be able to
sense.
grab Cecil before Cecil even knew what was going on. Speed can perceive time in slow motion, and he can do it while he's flying. In all of the situations I showed, he would see whoever he's fighting in slow motion and can move within that perception. He should be just dog walking everyone. He would see these portals opening very slowly, he could walk around them, grab Angstrom, smack him in the lips with the juicer, and boom, it's over. His mom never gets hurt.
Make no mistake, you're in the best place for reaction and reviews. I want another banger video from the show Invincible. Let's get straight into it.
Invincible thought they were being sneaky, but I called it. You're not slipping past me. There were 2 scenes in season 3 that caught my eye, and they change everything about the Invincible show.
Of life, and I want you to know.
Okay, all done.
This confirms without a shadow of a doubt that Viltrumites have super speed. Not flight speed like when Omni-Man ripped up the Flaxen planet by building up his speed when flying, like legit Red Rush, The Flash, Quicksilver type speed. But the key is, they're not just fast. They can perceive time in slow motion and move normally, if not faster, within that perception. Anyone who has watched my other videos when I talk about speedsters know exactly what I'm talking about. But a good example of this is when the Flash fought Batman in the 2023 Flash film. It takes 0 skill for this. If you remember, this was young Barry, and he had these powers for like a day. Another good example is literally any X-Men Quicksilver scene. You can go around with time almost completely frozen while being able to move freely in that perception. Same thing with Metro Man, who is a perfect example. He's kind of more of an Omni-Man or Superman type of character. All these speedsters that I listed can perceive time slowed because they're moving so fast that they have a faster perception and can move within that perception. So you can see how overpowered that power is, right? Now, how do I know for sure that
Speedsters
Oliver,
are
Invincible, and the other
broken
Viltrumites
powers.
have this type of super speed? Although they don't show us their perspectives on speed mode like the examples I gave, the actions they performed with their super speed can only be done with a fast perception. You can't just D-pants 3 people in a second at super speed without a fast perception. All while moving at super speed, you'd have to grab the pantalones, rip them off, and do that 3 times. Nor could Mark clean all this shit up in 1 second without it. I think there's another scene where Omni-Man used super speed to clean up the living room when he's getting it in with Debbie, and I think Mark uses it too in a similar situation. I'll put the clips in if I find it.
Oh, hey, you're back early.
Turn off the lights first.
Also, with the Oliver clip, how did Oliver eating concrete after failing his Ollie attempt hurt him at all? It even left a mark. Isn't this the same kid who smacked around the Mauler twins? I just thought that was kind of funny. For anyone still not understanding,
True.
I'll refer back to the Flash movie again. This movie was mid, but there were some good scenes to show what I'm talking about.
If I hit you in the past, will it hurt me in the future? Wait.
So, like the clip shows, it's a fraction of a second for everyone else, but for the speedster, that shit's just regular time. You picking up what I'm putting down? Omni-Man has also shown his super speed a couple of times. So what am I getting at? Why does this all matter? Well, now that the show has given us enough evidence to prove that Viltrumites are speedsters and not just fast flyers, that means every scene where they get touched by someone who doesn't have super speed is BS. Now, let's go over some of the scenes that I'm
Very
talking
true.
about. First is
Very,
Omni-Man versus
very
Guardians.
True. And it is some of the biggest problems in terms of. It's one of the biggest. Oh yeah. Yeah, very, very true. It's one of the biggest problems, not problems, but difficulties in making speedsters into like animated shows or live action shows. Because really, truly, it kind of breaks the whole fabric of realism when at one moment they're performing super speed feats and at other moment they're struggling and being tapped by people who aren't super speed. Probably with the CW Flash being one of the worst offenders. It's like one moment you have Barry like going to China and back in less than like 4 seconds, and the next minute he gets knocked out of a building by somebody who's not super speed, and then they'll be on the top floor of a building. They manage to escape from the building from the top floor or the bottom floor, escape, and then Barry says he got away. It truly makes no sense at the end of the day, but it's just one of the problems with speedsters. I'm very interested to see what is really the solution of speedsters. It's like, do you slow them down, or do you just forcefully like say everyone in first is also light speed? Are these the only 2 solutions? I'd love to hear your comments down below.
Globe. Say what you want about this fight, pull out all the excuses you can. Omni-Man got beat within an inch of his life. You can say he wasn't going all out to make it look like someone attacked all of them, but I disagree. I think he just actually struggled. Since he has super speed, he should have been able to take them all out within 2 seconds. This actually happened in the comics. In the comics, the Guardians get to the base, wonder what's going on, then boom, they all get smoked without ever even knowing what was happening. In the show, it's shown that Omni-Man is a good bit slower than Red Rush, and he needed to dial in to catch Red Rush's hand. He was also being hit by members of the Guardians who aren't speedsters, and Martian Man was able to wrap him up more than once, so none of this should have happened if Omni-Man has super speed. It should have played out more like the comics. There's a lot more scenes, but I'll just go over the ones that I can think of off the top of my dome.
To
In
be
season
fair-
3, when Mark fought the Mauler twins and was hit by that
To be
nervous...
fair, just as a writing and like animation perspective, they obviously did just to make it more of a spectacle and for enjoyability purposes. I'm not all too mad about that. Like a lot of us, we care a lot about power scaling, but in terms of the animator's point of view, they're going to prioritize enjoyment and enjoyability over power scaling 9 times out of 10, unless it's truly like egregious how it affects the power scaling. But moments like this, it really has no change in the story if Omni-Man loses like an inch to his life, or he one taps them all quickly, because as the creator says, it can be easily explained away that he wasn't fully trying, and that's an easy excuse that gets away with a lot of these like the shaky power scaling situations.
Gun while coming in. He should be able to get to them, break the gun, smack them in the lips, and call it a day in like 2 seconds tops.
True.
Another example is when Mark tried grabbing Cecil, but Cecil was able to bust out this remote, press the button to activate the sound device all before Mark could get to him.
Bullshit.
Makes
Mark
no
should be able to
sense.
grab Cecil before Cecil even knew what was going on. When he and Eve fought Doc Seismic in Season 1, this guy has no powers, all he has is his bracelets, and he was working both of them. This was back in Season 1, so Eve might be weaker here, but she put up a significantly better fight against a much more powerful character in Conquest. Doc Seismic was also somehow faster than both of them with just the stupid bracelets. He should have been snatched up in a fraction of a second. And then when he was falling, Invincible somehow couldn't catch up to him before he blasted him away. And again, in Season 2, he pulls a Barry Allen and lets this guy give this huge, drawn-out evil monologue when he could just grab him right then. He deadass is just floating there doing nothing and letting him make a move. And then he somehow can't get to him before he uses his bracelet blasts. And then we see this loser again in Season 3, and he's able to capture all of the superheroes on Earth.
Every superhero in America has been abducted.
Oh, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
They again
Doc
let him give
Seismic
his
be
huge
really
evil
a
monologue
flipping
before doing anything, and then they
planetary
let him call in
threat.
whatever this worm thing
Ridiculous.
is. This thing must actually be pretty strong, so I'm not going to bash Invincible for getting worked here, but Invincible could have easily prevented all of this by just using his super speed to grab Doc Seismic before he does anything, but the plot said otherwise. When Mark confronted Machine Head called in some serious cavalry, and Mark got destroyed. It was okay for Battle Beast to wipe the floor with him, but everyone else should have been sent to the Shadow Realm with like one super speed juicer. And for Battle Beast, he doesn't have super speed, so he really shouldn't be able to grab Mark. Battle Beast was also somehow working the Viltrumites who were set to kill Omni-Man, even though, as we already found out, all Viltrumites have super speed. You could argue this is at super speed and we're watching it from their perspective, which I guess is possible, but those guards they fought while getting to Omni-Man definitely didn't have super speed and they were fighting them at regular speed. Battle Beast was also getting hit by and fighting Titan at regular speed. Titan does not have super speed. Another one is when the Reanimant jumped Nolan and actually worked him for a little while. A lot of people say he let the Reanimant hit him because he wasn't scared of them, but when they were nibbling on his nose, it looked like that shit hurt. And since he has super speed, he could have killed them all before they ever even touched him, or just launched them into space like Immortal did to that phony Vulture dude. These 3 Reanimant put up a better fight than the whole Flaxen planet. Remember when the Maulers were helping out Angstrom and Invincible busted in and had to fight like 8 Maulers? He could have soloed them with his super speed by hitting each one of them in the lips with one juicer strong enough to put them down. To be honest, he didn't even need super speed for this. We saw what Oliver did to them, so Mark hitting them just hard enough to just knock them out shouldn't be that hard. Now, earlier I said
very
they have
true.
legit super speed, not just flight speed. But in a lot of these situations I'm showing, Invincible is flying rather than running, so one might think he doesn't have super speed when flying, which is why he doesn't use it in these clips. And you'd be wrong. We saw Sinister
Okay.
Mark use super speed when flying when he grabbed Angstrom's son. The clip I showed earlier of Omni-Man grabbing the soldier, he was flying when he did this, and then when he attacked Donald, Donald swerved him and Omni-Man hit the wall, and while flying, he saw the debris in slow motion, further proving he has faster perception, even when he's flying. Future me here, while I'm editing this, I found a clip where Omni-Man straight up says Viltrumites have super speed as one of their powers. I can't put the clip because of the music in the background, but it's the scene where he's talking to Mark about Viltrum on the roof. So yeah, them being touched by or not being able to easily defeat non-speedsters on the regular is just wild. But back to the video. Another example was when Mark was getting bent over in front of the baddie Anissa. She showed him up by one-shotting this thing at super speed, and she was flying while doing it. She was also using super speed every time she hit Mark while she was dog-walking him. This is slightly off topic, but if I'm Mark and Anissa came down and told me to hand over Earth, I'm gonna be honest, I'm cracking. I'm giving it up for her. Anyways,
I love you
remember
guys,
back in
it's
Season
the
1 when Mark first
girls
fought the
way
Reanimant?
too much.
I've come across a few comments saying these guys have a form of super speed, so it made sense that they challenge both Omni-Man and Invincible, but I disagree. For Omni-Man, we see them moving decently quick, but definitely not super speed, and then the one that fought Mark wasn't even able to grab regular speed humans. So again, these things should be nothing to Mark, and yet he got worked
To be
by them.
fair, in
Again,
that
he could have just
instance,
pulled an
they're
Immortal and
clearly
went it out,
weaker.
launched them into space, and yes, he was strong enough and fast enough to do this by this point in the show. He even used his super speed a couple times in this fight against the Reanimant, like when he had the Reanimant in the air and hit him like 3 times consecutively while zipping around. That's super speed. But out of all these, there was one scene that really ruffled my feathers the most
Let's
when I
get
watched
it.
it.
What
When
is
Mark
it?
fought Angstrom and was unable to get to him before Angstrom could open a portal. This shit happened so many times, too many times, and in Season 3, I was genuinely starting to tweak out. Angstrom's portals take a couple seconds to form, and in those couple of seconds, Mark should be able to grab him, just like he does to Cecil. But for multiple minutes, Angstrom was able to evade him and just make him look stupid. In the Robo-Balls, I don't care what these things are made of, a million of them could barely move Mark, yet just one of them was able to somehow knock the variants into the portal. And at the end of the fight,
be
when Mark
fair,
had Angstrom by the
that
throat and was about to
caught
make the
up
right
in that
decision and
instance.
send him on a one-way first-class flight to the Shadow Realm, one of these Robo-Balls was somehow able to smack him hard enough in the lips to make him lose his grip on Angstrom's throat. this whole fight was BS. Mark, with his speed, can perceive time in slow motion, and he can do it while he's flying. In all of the situations I showed, he would see whoever he's fighting in slow motion and can move within that perception. He should be just dog walking everyone. He would see these portals opening very slowly, he could walk around them, grab Angstrom, smack him in the lips with a juicer, and boom, it's over. His mom never gets hurt, the Invincible War never happens, and Rex never dies. Rest in peace, Rex. Even with all this evidence that I bring forth to the jury, a lot of people still don't seem to understand how super speed and faster perception works. You literally see everything in slow motion and can move in that perception. I don't know how many times I've said that, but I want to make sure you guys understand that. That's why it's so hard to write speedsters, because when you can essentially freeze time, everything is just on easy mode unless you're facing another speedster like the Flash and Reverse Flash, or a Viltrumite versus another Viltrumite. So them showing Viltrumites having super speed and fast perception in some scenes and then acting like it doesn't exist in other scenes when the plot needs it, it's bad writing. There's definitely more scenes that I'm not thinking of, so if you have any, then let me know in the comments. Don't get me wrong, I love Invincible, it's one of my favorite shows right now, and I think it's only going to get better with each season, and I'm excited each time a new episode drops, but the power scaling in it is just sometimes ridiculous, and I just kind of wanted to rant about it. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, then hit the subscribe, like, and share button. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below, but that's all I've got.
Yeah, I do completely agree. Whether it's Superman or the overpowered characters, speedsters definitely fall in this category. And it's very hard to get these characters done correctly, purely because it's either the whole verse and everyone they're fighting is considered to be super speed, and therefore it just makes sense that we can see it through their perspective of what they're seeing it. But then when you have characters like speedsters going against regular people without speeds, it really makes no sense why they're struggling. But it's almost as a viewer, we just have to suspend our belief and just turn our brain off to these kind of moments, because really and truly there would be very little story. Like the Doc Seismic, they have to bear power him up to almost like it's like an Avenger level threat, when really and truly it's a 1 second hit and run, knock him out, battle won. But obviously we need to see the spectacle, need to see a fight scene, so they scale him down for these moments. It's almost like picking and choosing when it's convenient to have speed and when it isn't. And the author has to perfectly balance it out to make sense. A lot of the times they do fail at this, but what can you do at the end of the day? Would we rather see him one-shotting everybody effortlessly? There'd be no show otherwise. So we almost have to accept these inconsistencies in speedsters. It's either we let it bother us and just not watch it, or we just accept it's just part of writing these kind of shows and just going along with it. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do speedster problems actually harm your viewing experience, or do you just don't mind it and just accept that this is part of speedster writing? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. But with that, that's from me. Have a blessed day. Until next time, ciao.